Hi, I'm Adam Mansell from the UKFT, and I'm here with Parik Goswami as part of UKFT's British Textile Week in association with the Cloth Workers Company and the Campaign for Wool. British Textile Week is all around celebrating the industry in the UK, and I'm delighted to be here with Parik to talk about innovation in the industry. Parik, can you just introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. Firstly, thank you very much, Adam. I'm Professor Parik Goswami. I'm Director of Technical Textile Research Centre, as well as I'm Head of Department presently for Fashion and Textiles at University of Huddersfield. I've worked in other universities as well. For example, before joining Huddersfield, I was in University of Leeds and I was Director of Research and Innovation in School of Design, University of Leeds. Thank you.
Thanks, Parik. A very broad question to start with, really. You're coming at textiles from a different angle than most of our interviewees during British Textile Week. You're obviously coming at it from an academic and from a research point of view, but wearing that hat, what's your feeling, what's your view of the British textile industry?
Well, before I answer that, I'll try to take a step back and I'll try to say what academia from a research perspective is all about. I absolutely think that we are a support system for the industry. We exist because the industry is there, as simple as that. So we are a support system and our role is to scan the landscape and our role is to understand what might be the future, what might be the challenges of the future, how policy interacts with innovation. And that is what, as a university sector, we are here to do. Now, from that point, I'll come to your question, Adam. For me, the fiber ecosystem is very integrated. So there is fashion, but there are other products. For example, there are medical products, which is made out of fibers. A very contemporary thing is PPE, for example. We have face masks made out of fibers. We have other PPE equipment, which are made out of fiber. Go to another completely different area, for example, like horticulture, which if you have to provide food in 2050 to 10 billion people, horticulture will play an important role. And horticulture depends on fiber economy. So as far as that is, and I can go on about giving
Good.
examples.
I'm going to ask you
to. For example, another example means if you want to be really sustainable and go into the core meaning of that word, then, for example, in your car, if you want to use biodiesel, then you need filters made out of products of that fiber economy. So the point I am trying to make is you can't really look at the fiber economy in isolation. You have to take everything together, blend in the circular economy concept, and then you have a holistic product for the fiber economy. And that is what we aspire to do as British industry. Lead the way, showing people how it is done.
Fantastic. It's great. I mean, any of you that have heard me speak before will have heard me say very similar things to Parik, is about the breadth of our industry is much greater than just fashion. I mean, fashion is obviously incredibly important, but where textiles comes into our lives and in everyday use is amazing. You've touched very briefly on some of the projects and some of the research areas that you're looking at now. Can you go into some depth of those around sort of where you're using British fibres, for instance, where you're using British wool or other fibres, and how the university works with industry and how you bring those two different sides together, and talk us through some of the projects that you're working on now.
Sure, Adam. Before I start answering it, I have to be a bit careful because, as you appreciate, Adam, that we have commercial confidentiality around particular projects, but that doesn't mean we can't give an overview of it. Now, the most important factor is what are the mechanisms of collaboration with the industry? That is the most important aspect here. Now we work with a lot of different mechanisms. Means me and you are part of a project called Future Fashion Factory, where you know that We have a different funding mechanism where some money is directly coming from the universities, some money is coming from the government, the industry is putting fraction of that project in terms of finance, and we make a sandwich of funding to fund new innovations for British industry. Now we are part of many of that projects. We are applying for more like that. So if industry wants to come to us, by no means there is only one kind of funding mechanism. We can work with them to understand where we are going. Now about British fiber ecosystem. What we try to do is understand the supply chain very holistically. Means I don't think there is any country in the world, apart from a few maybe, who can supply the whole supply chain from the very concept to the end. And that is not required. We live in a very connected global system. We have to concentrate where we are good at. Now, there are some excellent manufacturing facilities, excellent ecosystems in the UK around many products, right? And what we are trying to, and when I say we, I don't mean me alone, I mean you, I mean other university partners that we got. What we are trying to do, and UKFT is playing, I'm very happy to say, a very central role there, to bring all this industry and universities together so we can see how we can bring the profit to absolutely the grassroots level. I'll give you one example, right? We are working, or we are developing our relations with British wool, for example. Now, what we are trying to do is, instead of using those fine long wool fibers, which we know how to use, it means you are wearing one of the glamorous suits now, we know what to do with them, but what's about the coarser fibers? That is British wool economy, right? There are so many different breeds of wool which produces coarser fibers. Now we are working with them. We are trying to understand the physical and chemical properties of those fibers, and we are trying to convert them into value-added products. It can be PPE, for example. It can be other value-added products in technical textiles, so that we find a mechanism where even the farmers get profit out of that. And we are working very hard, me, you, to make that happen. So whatever resources we have, we are working to optimize that in the UK.
One of the things that, I mean, I've sat through some of your more academic lectures, which it's been a long time since I was at university, and your academic lectures managed to do two things. They managed to be utterly fascinating and quite amusing at the same time. One of the ones I sat through not that long ago was you were looking at the nanotexture of fibres and things, and you had some fantastic. Do you just want to talk a little bit about that? Because I found it fascinating, and I'm sure our audience will.
Absolutely. And nano is very fascinating to me as well. And I'll tell you why. Means a basic example is, the color of gold, but at a nano scale, gold is not golden. It gives another different color. So nano, what I mean to say here is nano changes the property of the material, of the same material. We all know what happens with graphene, for example, right? So at a nanoscale, the property of the material changes, and therefore I'm really passionate to explore that for textiles. Now, a basic thing is, when you are at a nanoscale, the weight to surface area ratio is different. We want to optimize that for filtration and other kind of applications. And when I say about filters, we are not only using water and air filter. We are using blood filters. We are using filters to take out water from diesel and stuff like that. Take out toxins from your blood for example, when you are doing kidney dialysis and stuff like that. So a whole raft of projects can be done there. But we can functionalize material with nano, right? So say, for example, if you want to work, you know about antimicrobial finishes, right? We can actually use nanoparticles for antimicrobial finishes, but we can take it one step ahead. We can create hybrid nanostructures so that with one family of chemistry, you can get antimicrobial and fire retardant, for example, in the same fabric using the nano properties. And we can do it in a way. In fact, I have a few patents applications in that area where we can absolutely make it inherent part of that fiber.
Does that then feed into the notion of the broader notion of sustainability? So I think one of the things that is becoming, obviously sustainability in its broader sense is an increasingly important part of the British textile industry. I think there is probably some concern that we don't want to start using more chemicals to prevent other bad things happening. So that knock-on effect. So is some of the stuff that you're researching in terms of nano looking at ways of producing effects on textiles that used to be done with chemicals but will now be done at a nanoparticle level? Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. I mean, that is one aspect of it. So we are actually thinking that instead of using gallons and gallons of water and using different chemicals to achieve different properties, which sometimes can cancel each other, why don't we develop mechanisms which can holistically tackle different properties, but using the basic fundamental science, which is easy to apply, which is a core property of the material itself, rather than an added property. And the most important thing from an industry side is, Adam, we are not trying to say that the chemical industry, which we work with very closely, will get irrelevant. We are actually saying completely the opposite, that we will work with the chemical industries so that, again, we are going through the process of development together rather than in isolation. And that is the most important thing.
Brilliant. I'm gonna level a couple of accusations at the university sector, not at you personally, but at the university sector that we hear quite often, and I'm sure you do as well. The first is around the number of students, that particularly fashion design students, that come into the market with perhaps a great creativity, but not necessarily a very good understanding of the business side of the industry. So that's sort of accusation one. So I'd be interested in your sort of response to that as head of school. And the second one is from a more industry perspective, is that we're told quite often that there are obviously fantastic research centres like your own in Huddersfield, but they're quite difficult for a lot of our SME businesses to get into and to work with. So how is Huddersfield, for instance, addressing those two key issues of getting more business training, for want of a better description, into its undergraduate programs and making its research offer more accessible for SMEs?
Absolutely. This is such a good question. Firstly, to say that, see, even we are getting better at it, right? And I mean, as a sector, we are really getting better at it, and we accept that we need to get better at it. Our students need to understand the business atmosphere much better. Now, what we are doing at Huddersfield, I will request the viewers of this program to go to the internet and search for 3M BIC. We actually created a whole sector, a whole building even, which is called 3M BIC. So it is in collaboration with 3M. It is kind of an incubator center for business, where spin out and spin in can happen. We are not even saying we'll collaborate with the industry. We are saying the industry can come and locate in our location. We'll give them office space, obviously under some mechanism. I don't want to go into that, but if anybody is interested in that, we have a whole department where the industry can contact us, and we can holistically help them, not only from research and innovation side. We can connect them with the civic society. We can talk about the policy framework. So university is trying to create innovation ecosystems where we are not theoretically talking about innovation which might be relevant in 2021. We are talking about innovations where we will work together with the company. They can locate now in our campus, which is a big step forward, right? And we are working on that. Now I'll come to the student aspect. We are finding new mechanisms where our students can actually directly work with the companies in 3M. For example, for my Technical Textile Research Centre, I have a lab in 3M. I'm just not working in a dark room in the university. I'm actually reaching out to the industry. I have a lab there, and my colleagues in my center are actually working with them, with the industry in 3M as a team. Though we have different hats and different business strategies, but we are working together so that we can understand them. Now I am encouraging my students, and we are finding new mechanisms every day so that our students can be part of that culture. In our masters, we are developing modules like entrepreneurship, understanding the business network, and not only theoretically. We are trying to connect them with the civic society, with LEP, for example, so that they know what is really required. And how my criticism has always been, when I was a student before a million years, my criticism was, I understand the theory, but practically I need to understand the policy network. Practically I need to understand, if I want to open a spin out, what forms I need to fill, which is equally important, Adam, you know that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now we are catering the education, and we are bringing practitioners to the university so that they know those things, so that they are not in deep water when they try to become an entrepreneur. And you are doing that. You have incubation center, and that is why I am a member organization of UKFT, because we know how we can help each other to create new generation entrepreneurs for the British economy.
Thank you for that shameless plug. Guinness next time I see you, Parik. I think the final question then, and I'd be particularly interested in this because you're at the very, very front of the supply chain, I guess if I put it that way, because you're so heavily involved in research and development. Be really interested in your view of the next 5 to 10 years of the British textile industry. What do you see coming down the track?
Absolutely. This is again a very good question, practical one. What we are trying, I will not say we are at the very front end, because there is a concept called technical readiness level. 1 is a concept in my head, 10 is a product with a plug in it. We are actually working throughout that technical readiness level. But the most important thing is we are trying to follow the policies, right, which are coming. I'll give you 2 examples, right? You are very aware of the UK plastic pack, but there are serious aspirations. By 2025, we will recycle or compost 70% of our waste, and 100% will be either recycled, composted, or repurposed. Now, there is definitely a knock-on effect of that in the textile industry, because we all depend on the fiber polymer network, right? We are preparing our industry for that. We are doing research so that our industry is not affected. Rather, our industry can take advantage of that policy. You know, there are other very important policies like, well, which will become a policy at some point, I hope, like the single-use plastic directive of EU. We are trying to do research, working with the industry so that we can prepare the industry for that. so that we don't only say, my goodness, a policy is coming, what will happen to us? But we together want to change the mindset, saying a policy is coming, bingo, there is opportunity for us. And that is where we are looking at. So to some extent, if we believe in that frame of mind, that mindset, then which product we are developing becomes irrelevant. The philosophy that we are developing together for the British industry and the future of that is what is the relevant thing here. Am I making sense here or making it too complicated?
It's great. Again, I mean, it's brought us back full circle, really. It's about identifying new opportunities for the industry beyond what we traditionally had thought of as the textile industry. So that's fantastic. Great. Well, Professor Parik Goswami, the director from the Textile Research Centre at Huddersfield University, thank you very much indeed for your time. It's been absolutely fascinating. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
For everyone else, do head over to ukft.org and follow hashtag British Textile Week on social media for more interviews, trends and takes on the UK textile industry. Thank you very much indeed.